Friends, now while I was minding my business being nosy, I hadn't found out something that I'm going to tell you about. I'm going to tell you about it. It's heavy. It's real heavy. So if you don't feel like hearing no heavy news today, friend, go on and click out the video, watch it another day. Call me back another day. But this one is heavy and I had no idea. Not a one, not nay clue. The Devil's Punchbowl. Now, friends, when I tell you I was up in a tizzy about this because nobody had told me anything. Nobody told me anything. Nothing at all. I ain't learned about it in school. I ain't heard a peep or nothing over the years. Nothing. And let me tell you, I searches my Black history stuff. I searches it up and down, because I want to know. But I'm going to tell y'all about the Devil's Punchbowl, and it's going to send you up in a tizzy. Did y'all know that this was a Black concentration camp?
It looks like a jungle from up above. Down below that first bluff east of the Mississippi River, quarter mile, maybe a half mile past Natchez City Cemetery. You're 200 feet up right here, and your footing falls almost straight down into a two-pronged indentation into the bluffs that sort of looks like the roots on a molar tooth.
It was a Black concentration camp. And when you start to look at the history that they taught us in school, friends, you don't want to get up. You're going to want to get up. You're going to want to walk away because ain't no way, friends. It's no way that the history books told us a little T90 bit of it. We got a little T90 bit. So y'all know back during the Civil War that started in 1861, it was really a tussle, a little tiff between the North and the South. South wanted to secede. The North was like, no, we control what's going on. The federal government should have power. And the South was like, no, the state should have the power. So then the North was like, well, you get no more slaves. Goodbye. You know, it was more of a power trip, right? It wasn't that Abraham Lincoln felt so bad for Black people and said, you know, they're not furniture and property. They're people too. No, he said they can't get no money. They can't make no money if they ain't got no slaves. So therefore they can't succeed. And they have to be a part of the Union, of the United States of America. Right? So the South, they tried it. That's why so many people get offended when they see the Confederate flag because of what it stood for, right? Confederacy was for slavery. Keep the slaves in, you know. They're going to do all the labor for us. Get us real rich. And we're going to own them like property. Y'all, it's painful when you actually look back at this stuff. I was able to go back and find my grandparents, fourth generation great-grandparents on a plantation. And their names listed. And the only way I was able to find them is they had a daughter while they was on the plantation. And the three of them were together. And this was like in the 1860 census. And then 1865, of course, slavery was, you know, abolished. But that's crazy, right? It's heart-wrenching. Anyway, let me get off of me. So the war breaks out 1861. They get to fighting and tussling. You know, they over here, bang, bang, pow, pow, stab, stab. It was crazy. A lot of people lost their life. And not to mention, a lot of Black folk, make sure my mic is unmuted. A lot of Black folk lost their life fighting. And a lot of them were promised their freedom if they fought in this war. And they won't never gonna get it. They won't never gonna get it. Not if the Confederacy won. Absolutely not. You won't gonna get it. And they won't know you can do about it. So in 1863, Emancipation Proclamation dropped. So Abe Lincoln dropped it in 1863. And the South said, okay, nothing. So you had slaves that were free, but they started making their way to this place called Natchez in Mississippi. And that's in between Jackson, Mississippi and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Natchez, Mississippi at the time was at population 10,000, right? And y'all can go look the story up. Y'all ain't gonna find a lot of information on it because they try to keep it a secret. They try to keep it on a hush. But the population was at about 10,000. By the time the freed slaves or the slaves that were being freed or let go got there, it was about 100,000 people, right? So the people of Natchez was like, y'all not coming down here? What we gonna do with all these Black people that we thought were just 1/4 of a person and that, you know, don't belong here, don't need to be here, and it's just property? What we gonna do with them? So at the time, they decided to create a concentration camp called the Devil's Punchbowl, which was deep down in like a ravine, they called it the Punch Bowl because there was a lake there, but it was so hot. It's like humid and hot, and you can't get out. It's like a jungle, and 200 feet up is the road. And well, not the road. It probably wasn't a road at the time, but it is the town of Natchez. But this is deep down in there. So they started sending the freed slaves over to the Devil's Punch Bowl in Natchez, Mississippi. And there they enslaved them in the concentration camp. They made the men work all night long, under harsh, very, very hot conditions. It's Mississippi. Y'all know it gets hot down there. It gets real hot. And the women and the children were locked behind walls where they were made to starve until they went on to glory. Till they went on to the upper room. They said, now there are accounts saying that slaves begged to go back to the plantation. They'd rather be back on the plantation than be in this concentration camp. And at the time, guess who was running the concentration camp? Oh no, it wasn't the Confederate soldiers. It was the Union soldiers, according to them. Now, not me, because I won't them. This is what they tell me, allegedly. It was the Union soldiers. And you would think that, the Union soldiers were coming to save the slaves and put them away in a concentration camp and send them on to glory. There were accounts saying that the Union soldiers said, if wherever they drop it, bury them right there. Get a shovel, dig a hole, put them in there. Children and women behind the wall, starving. Do you know how difficult, how painful it would have to be to starve when your organs are shutting down? Ain't nothing you can do. Your body is literally shutting down. That's got to be painful. What human being does that to somebody, right? So they said during those years, it started out with the 4,000 people in the concentration camp. By the time slavery was abolished in 1865, they had unalived 20,000 freed slaves. From the conditions, from the harsh conditions, the men working all day, and then because there were so many slaves packed into the same place, smallpox broke out. Smallpox was eradicating them. The drinking water that was drinking out of the Mississippi River, that was excuse me, can't say that word. Y'all know what I was getting ready to say. That was sending them out of here. There was a lot that was going on, friends, and it's sad to know that this isn't in the history books anywhere, and you can find very little stories on it. Not to mention that there have been accounts today of skeletal remains washing up on shore from people who were in that concentration camp. You can't just get rid of 20,000 people like that. No, you can't. They even say that peach trees are growing in that area today that the locals will not eat because they know they grew from fertilized grounds that was fertilized by the remains of slaves who were wrongfully unalived in that place. Especially if they're begging to go back to the plantation. That's got to be horrible. There's so many accounts out there on the internet. You can listen to this one lady telling the interviewer back during the early 1900s that recorded her on tape. She said when the freedom bell rang, it was scary because what they were going to do.
All that I know, they teach you to mind your master and your missus. Mom and them didn't know where to go. You see, after freedom go, just like he turned something out, They didn't know where to go.
It ain't like they just go get a job, go buy a house. Now, you pretty much had to make a contract with your slave owner to become a sharecropper, to continue to be a slave. My grandparents were sharecroppers. Okay. That's the truth. So it wasn't an exciting time. And then you have soldiers or people you think that's your friends or coming to help you. They're not coming to help you. They're coming to hurt you. Coming to get rid of you, to exterminate, to eradicate, just be done with it. From a group of people who did not ask to be there. Didn't ask to be in the United States. Didn't ask to be there. So when you hear people say that black people are some of the most disenfranchised people who we have had to create our own cultures because there's no record of where we come from. There's no history of who our parents were, what tribe we came from, what boat we came on. You'd be lucky to find any information that you can. So the Devil's Punch Bowl to me was like, wow. to do that to a group of people is out of this world. It's crazy, friends. Crazy. So that's just my little story on Black History Month that we should just take a moment of silence for. And remember those people who fought for their lives. And thank God that you're still here because your ancestors lived. Well, friends, I hope I ain't got y'all up in too much of a tizzy. And I'm going to call y'all back later on. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment down below. Bye.